The importance of the nitrogen cycle in all life forms. The nitrogen cycle is a repeating cycle of processes during which nitrogen moves through both the living and non-living organisms, through the atmosphere, soil, water, plants, animals, and bacteria. There are a total of 5 different cycles that play a role: nitrogen fixation, mineralization, nitrification, immobilization, and denitrification. How does it influence biological systems? Nitrogen is one of the most important components of life. It is included in many cell processes, including amino acids, proteins, and DNA.
Human alteration on the nitrogen cycle. Sources of change. Nitrogen fertilizer is used to grow many crops today. The fertilizer allows for more nitrogen into the soil. Another source of change is fossil fuel combustion. And there are more human alterations that take place to mobilize nitrogen are land clearing and biomass burning. Nitrogen fixing crops are different legumes that take the nitrogen from the air and store it in their roots.
How does nitrogen affect the cycle in the atmosphere? Without enough nitrogen, the plant growth is negatively affected. On the other hand, too much nitrogen can cause plants to produce excess biomass or organic matter, but not enough root structure.
Effects on terrestrial ecosystems, nitrogen enrichment, and the carbon cycle. The amount of plants produce and other various organisms are directly impacted or restricted by the amount of nitrogen distributed throughout the Earth's surface, which has been majorly contributed to by humans. The accumulation of nitrogen within various ecosystems has led to the restoration of carbon within these ecosystems, as well as resulting in the subtraction of the carbon sink. The most recent analysis of the global carbon cycle by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, concluded that N deposition could represent a major component of the missing carbon sink. Schimmel et al. 1995.
The nitrogen saturation is referred to change in nitrogen in a forest ecosystem. One place that this is a big problem is in Europe. The nitrogen additions led to increase in water, soil acidity, and imbalances in the nutrients.
Nitrogen deposition and changes in ecosystem composition and biodiversity. Nitrogen deposition can be described as the removal of atmospheric nitrogen back into the biosphere or various ecosystems on the Earth's surface. Nitrogen deposition changes an ecosystem as it alters which species are dominant within the ecosystems and completely disrupting or altering the food chain. Nitrogen deposition decreases the overall biodiversity, the variety of life on Earth, within ecosystems, which in turn affect other factors within the ecosystem.
Nitrogen concentrations have increased over the years in aquatic ecosystems. Nitrogen contributes to acidity in 2 ways. Nitric acid does so directly, and ammonium deposited in aquatic systems can be a further source of acidity. Both biological uptake of ammonium and nitrification produce hydrogen ions. Adding inorganic nitrogen in freshwater ecosystems with sufficient phosphorus can cause eutrophication. It is considered to be the greatest threat to the integrity of a coastal ecosystem.
So background on N depositation and loss. So current rates of N depositation and loss are improving in advanced areas. So the grasping of the changes before the lengthy impacts of human impact is currently still rocky. So this sheds light on the point that human life either greatly or hardly makes an impact on the majority of Earth. However, studies conducted from unknown southern hemisphere regions expose that essential material regarding regions that have been impacted and changed by humans has yet to be collected. So future prospects. So some future implications is using N fertilizer when fertilizing fields because it's less costly and more sufficient way to raise production rates. Plans of delaying the development regarding the sum of N fixed for agriculture and for decreasing the movement of N that's used. So utilizing fixed N within agriculture is permitted from being changed out. There are ways in which the ability of N fertilizer can be significantly expanded. The establishment of sharing technologies so presents the ability to decrease expenses and stall the amount of worldwide altercations, and then methods for restricting nitrogen. The that disappeared from fertilized fields from entering water routes, so is a factor in the occurrence of eutrophication.
The nitrogen cycle is a repeating cycle of processes during which nitrogen moves through both the living and non-living organisms. It's included in many cell processes, including amino acids, proteins, and DNA. Without enough nitrogen, the plant growth is negatively affected. The nitrogen additions led to the increases in water and soil acidity. Eutrophication in estuaries is the greatest threat to the integrity of coastal ecosystems. Humans are altering the global cycle of nitrogen through the combustion of fossil fuels, the production of nitrogen fertilizers, the cultivation of nitrogen-fixing lagoons, and other actions.
And this is our works cited.